911, what's your emergency?
Hello, I would like to order a big pepperoni with extra cheese, please.
Excuse me? You've reached 911.
Yes, I know. Oh, and 2 cans of soda.
Ma'am, do you have an emergency?
Yes, I do.
And you can't talk about it because of someone in the room?
Yes, exactly.
Do you also need medical attention? Is somebody hurt?
Yes, do you know how long it will be?
Who's the oppressor? I have an officer about a mile away. I'll send it right away.
Hello everybody, and welcome to this video on 911 Operator. It's a new game that was released on PlayStation 4 very recently. It's been out on PC for a while, but this is obviously its first release on PS4. So I thought I'd give you all a look at it, what it's about. It's a light strategy simulation game, and yeah, it's really good. It's really enjoyable. I'm having a good time with it, so yeah, I definitely recommend it. As the name suggests, you play as an operator behind the desk, taking in 911 calls. And your goal is obviously to direct the police, the ambulance and the fire around to deal with emergencies as they pop up in whatever town you're playing as. And yeah, it is very light, it's very simple, it's not going to tax the brain too much, but there's a lot of time management skills that are involved, and you've got to obviously be mindful of your budgets and make sure that you've got enough money coming in to pay for all the resources that you're using in a night-to-night kind of basis. As you can see, and you would have seen from the little introduction, there are phone calls that regularly come in, and when those phone calls come in, you actually have to decide, or you need to ask questions to make the decision about whether the call is genuine, it's a genuine emergency, and if so, which of the emergency response forces you need to send, whether it be fire or ambulance or police or a mixture of those. But as you can see in this little one, sometimes there are false calls that come in, and being able to tell the difference between a false call and a real one is a big part of the strategy, because if you send police and whatever out to an emergency that isn't actually an emergency, you are taking resources away from what the real emergency might be. Unfortunately for the game, these calls become fairly repetitive fairly quickly, so it becomes quite easy to guess, which are genuine and which are not. It's still a challenging enough game though, because you never seem to have enough resources to actually deal with all the problems that pop up. Whatever town you're in always seems to have an awful lot of issues going on regardless of its size and population. But that brings me to, I guess, the one really, really cool feature of this game. You can actually import any town you like, as far as I'm aware, just by searching for it. And it'll take the Google Maps data. I assume it's Google Maps. It might be another mapping program or software or whatever. But it'll take the Google Maps data and convert it into a game map, which is really cool. This map that you're seeing here in front of you, or the one you saw before, this is actually one of the missions, the story missions. But the maps that you were looking at beforehand were actually taken from my hometown where I grew up. It's a small town. It's not even a major city. So the fact that I was able to import that and then start directing response forces around roads and areas that I recognize from my youth was a really cool feature. I'm actually really enjoying that. It gives a lot of longevity to kind of the game's endless mode. There's 2 different modes of play. There's the story mode, which is missions and you've got set objectives and the maps are obviously set down in stone. And then there's the endless mode where you can import whatever town you like. Given that most of us have probably travelled to a couple of towns in our lifetimes, that's a really cool feature that gives us plenty of replay value, because again there is that sense of familiarity about what you're actually doing, which I really like. And I was surprised that was a feature. I didn't realise that was a feature in the game before I started. Once I realised it was there, the value of the game kind of jumped for me, and once again I'm having a great time with it. As you can see, the presentation is fairly simple, but at the same time, it does have that kind of 9/11 operator vibe. You know, you can just imagine that you're sitting there with the headset on, monitoring the GPS locations of all these response forces, and to actually see it all play out there in front of you is really cool. The longer you go on, the more police, fire ambulances, and fire trucks you actually have on the roads, the more that you've bought, the more staff that you've recruited, those number of icons really starts to grow, and it becomes very almost overwhelming in terms of how much is actually going on screen at once.
What's your emergency?
Luckily, there's a lot of controls over how fast time moves within the game, because at the start it seems a little bit sedate paced, but it doesn't take long for the action to really ramp up, and actually managing all the time and making sure that your forces are properly dispersed around the map to be able to handle situations wherever they turn up is a really cool little feature, and it's a good way, I guess, to slowly build up the tension.
Sir,
and
have you drank alcohol?
yeah, so there's not much else I can really say about the game, to be honest. It is, like I said, quite simple, quite clean, but a lot of fun, and probably something that'll fly under a lot of people's radars. But if you do like your strategy games, if you like your simulations, this is a good option for you on the PlayStation 4. It's highly recommended. Look forward to my review on digitallydownloaded.net in the not too distant future. I will be giving it a full written piece. But yeah, in the meantime, if you play the game and enjoy it, let me know for sure. Thanks very much for watching the video, and I'll see you at the next one.